and there was nuclear energy, because he knew that at a point in time, that is where the world is moving towards. And that kind of energy would have given us so much capacity that there is no way on earth would have experienced anything like capacity issues. So it was a well-planned and laid out strategy that for Ghana to move from a third world to a first world, the energy sector was so pivotal to that success. So we invested seriously into the energy sector. We had so much capacity. When Nkrumah was undertaking this project, the opposition then were saying that such a small nation, Ghana, we don't need this big town. What do we need? The capacity is too much. We don't need it. But Osajifo, being a visionary leader, knew that at the end of the day, this is what the nation really needed. Because at that time, the industrialization drive of the CPP government was that we should ensure that almost all the things that we consume here on a daily basis are produced here locally in Ghana. And also, we had an aluminium smelter plant, Valco, very crucial to any success of any new nation. All these things were done. Fast forward, what happened to them? We lost our industrialization drive arm as a country. All the industries are gone. Despite all the industries even leaving the scene, just a few were left in the scene. We are still experiencing these challenges. So just imagine an economy or a country where Nkrumah envisaged that there will be so much industries in this country. Just visit, if this crossing into the Fourth Republic, and we have all these industries that Nkrumah set up, still in existence, what will be of our power industry? Just think about it. That all the plans that he put in place, later President Kufuor came and did well with the Bill Dam and brought it on stream. Our nuclear energy. After the 1966 coup, we sat in this country and allowed the Americans to come and take our atomic reactor. Such a shame. Those days, how many countries even had atomic reactors? But Ghana, as a new nation, and a formidable nation as then, we had one. And we were building a country towards the future, where you knew that come with me, industrialization is the game changer. So he invested so much in industrialization. Fast forward, we've lost that. Now it is for us to plan our sector. In planning, current governments have said they wanted to do one district, one dam, and all those things. One district, one factory, and all those things. It feeds into the energy sector. So there was no way they could have achieved that without building a formidable energy sector. So I don't know how they think that, okay, you can do 1D, 1F, but you will not build the capacity of your energy sector. And as we rightly said, have they added any capacity to what they came to meet? Have they? It is still, but they have not.
And that's a valid point.
They haven't.
Even for the 24-hour economy that the NDC wants to bring.
Because you cannot do those things without energy.
Yeah.
And what we are also looking at is that, look, the energy needs to be cheap. Comparatively, hydro and gas is cheaper. So, as a country, our focus should have been in those areas. Even though initial installations are very expensive, fast forward, it becomes cheaper.
Yeah.
Solar is also cheap. We have so much sunshine in this country. Initial solar installation, very expensive. But if we're able to get it on stream, it becomes very cheap. Because that one, you don't need to buy crude, you don't need to do anything. Or maybe time to time you do your maintenance and other things. So, bless, what we are saying is that, look, yes, 2014, 2015, we had Dumso. The NDC government then brought more plants to be able to build up, show up their capacity. That has been done. So what are we doing to maintain? At a point in time, if you could remember, they said we had excess capacity and it was going waste. I don't know if you could remember this, that we had so much capacity that we are underutilizing the capacity. So what happened? And we heard that, oh, other countries like Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, even Cote d'Ivoire, we were giving them power. And that is a good strategy. At least we could have gotten something from the excess that we had. But now we are faced with a situation where they are telling us it's transformers. For me, I know transformers, since time immemorial, they've been changing transformers. If they want to change a transformer, maybe in the morning they will make an announcement, maybe 4-6 hours, they're able to do it. It is not something that will warrant persistence on and off. No. They've been changing transformers. We know when they want to change transformer, they come, even at the link here, they've changed transformers several times. And sometimes when we're young, we're even standing by the ECG guy, we're doing it. So maybe from morning, maybe 7 o'clock, it's off. By 12, 1, or even by 5, it's on again. And those things it doesn't happen regularly. It's something maybe 5 years or even 3 years before they do it. So I find it difficult to understand when they tell me it's about transformers and those things. Now, we are also aware that last year the IPPs wrote a letter to the Ministry of Energy and the ECG that they are owing them so much money. And they even came to a conclusion that, look, there's a formula they should be using to pay them. Unfortunately for them, they've not been paying them. And I don't know if I still have the report. There was a report I saw just about a month ago where the cash flows of ECG and what they've been using the money for. It was an audit that was done on them. And it was seen that for months, they've not even paid some IPPs any money. But they had a lot of cash flows. So this is what we are talking about. Why is ECG not paying the IPPs? Fundamental question. And my senior rightly said, government as an entity is also owing ECG so much money. Parliament of Ghana, honorable, I heard you people are owing $1.8 million. Is it true?
It's 23 million Ghana.
Yes. We were owing 1.8 million, which is equivalent to the 23 million Ghana cedis. Just imagine, not only Parliament, all the state institutions that are owing.
All the hospitals,
the Minister of Education
is
owing 45 million Ghana cedis.
And hospitals across the country owe 190 million Ghana cedis.
And in those days, I remember when they was doing so, the NPP used to make a very simple argument. Government, pay ECG. Pay their debt, you are owing them, pay them. So the status quo is still the same. We are telling the NPP government they should pay what they owe ECG. It's very simple. If they pay them today, tomorrow we will have better services. You understand? So ECG on their part, for me, I don't know why they want to hide or keep information from the public. Come clean. Come and tell the good people of this country that, look, this is the situation we are being faced with. Government is owing us that much, and we are unable to pay our IPPs. So that is why we are having these shortfalls. It's a very simple issue. But unfortunately, because they are also pinching them to tow a certain direction, they are able to come out with the truth. And now, every day, ECG, they are taking the blame of government. And I don't know why they also see that for this to happen to them. But I understand, they are being remote controlled. Of course, ECG boss, we are being appointed by the government and its deputies. Who are you to say that the government is owing you so you are unable to operate? So this is where we find ourselves as a country. And we are pleading with the ECG. Look, we've shared through the lines. We know what the issues are. You cannot hide it. We are not in some ages that you could keep information away from people. No. We know what it is. We know what time it is. So come out, accept your fault, tell the good people of this country the truth, give us a timetable so that we can plan our lives. It's very simple. What the masses are asking for is that give us a timetable so that we know that from this time to that time, I am off. I will know how to plan my life. And bless, in the 21st century, if you don't have power, we are very miserable. Look at how it feels, even within hours, even when there is no light. Yeah. And even with this internet services, you feel that the whole world is coming to an end. Yeah. So within those last week, I think when the internet went out and there was no light, look, you could, I see the world has come to an end. And I knew that people will go to church and their pastors will start telling them that, Armageddon is upon us. Because, look, nothing was moving. Yeah. Nothing was moving. So it is that essential and crucial. And we are developing as a nation. The capacity we need, we are going into it. Because look at the mansions we are building, the apartments, the investment people are making. So come with me, there should be a plan for constant build up on our capacity and maintenance. We should have a plan with the energy sector. It is very paramount. Otherwise, we are saying these things 2-3 years again, we'll come back to square one. Where after we've gotten all these capacities, 2-3 years at a time, we will go into the capacity, then we will even need more capacity, and we are still where we are. Because this government has not even added even 1 megawatt. So what happens if other governments also come and they don't add any capacity to it? In 2 years, we are caught up again and do so back to square one. So we are appealing to them. It's unfortunate it is the NDC and the NPP who have ruled this Fourth Republic, and they've not been able to give us a concrete plan with the energy sector. It's unfortunate. That is why we are saying that enough is enough. With the Dukadaya of the NDC and the NPP, it's about time we kick them out. If we don't, these are the things they'll be telling us about transformers and other things. And December 7th is a very crucial election. I am appealing to the good people of this country. My seniors party, they've said since 92, we know what they can do and what they cannot do. MPP, former MPP, sorry. I'm not pointing to you. I'm pointing to the left. We've seen them. We've seen what they can do. It is the butterfly we've not seen yet. But the butterfly cannot be insulated from the problems we are having today. They can never be insulated. The leader of the butterfly movement can never be insulated from the problems we are facing. So what we are saying is simple. The only positive alternative left is for the good people of this country to vote massively for the red cockerel. The red cockerel.
Check it.
No. The issue is that they set all of us aside. And as a law-abiding party member, I take it in good faith. In fact, do you know that the motion to set aside, I moved the motion. This should tell you how true in Kumaris I am.
Forget about it.
No. Everybody knows in the party. I moved the motion. So if I myself will do a motion against myself, they should tell you that no, this is a guy.
That's confusion your party.
Oh, it's no confusion. It's no confusion. I am saying that the national executives are not
So
gelling.
will you have the peace of mind to even choose somebody to sponsor?
Oh, why not? And we are doing that. Next month, 1st April, we are setting our constituency elections. And
You are not such a
oh, yeah, because you need to do the grassroots work.
You bring the
Council, please come in.
Which electric shock? Electric shock. That was a concept somebody created. Electric shock. Maybe the next candidate, even if it's the same candidate, you might even bring the same concept again.
Yeah.
You see, you need to do the grassroots work. And that is what we've done extensively.
electric shock. That's why we have the
You see, extensively. So now, bless, April, constituency elections. Massive throughout the whole country. Then in May we do our regional elections. June we do our national executive elections. And I'm telling you, after June, you will see a new and revamped CPP. To take our goal of competing for political power.
Right. Thank you very much. On that note, let me come to Councillor Piadampa.
They've sacked them. So you see, bless. It's so sad. And by the way, as one of us with what they said, it's so sad that in 2024 we are here going to talk about doom so again. You understand? When my brothers were speaking, they made a very good point about the fact that for Ghana to be transformed, what we need now is transformation. And for us to be transformed, we don't have a choice. We have to be industrialized. Now, one of the most critical elements or ingredients you need to achieve this industrialization agenda, which clearly is the only way for us to go if we want to be transformed, is to have a very stable energy sector. It's very critical. Now, I'm saying that it's very disappointing that we've come to 2024 this morning, 20th March, and we're going to talk about doomsday again because of what has happened concerning energy over the past about 12 years. You see, it is a fact that in late 2012 we were plagued in massive what we called doomsday. Now, if you go some time back, it hasn't been the only time when we've had energy issues, except to say that this was a really prolonged one. I remember that, I love football, so always, I remember that during France 98, we were having some form of power energy. France 98? Yeah, during France was the matches that, and ECG came out with a timetable, and also sometime in 2007, we had energy crisis again. You understand? I think it lasted for about 3 months. You understand? And in both in both the 98 one, it was Akosombo and Zippon or the varieties on largely producing or providing the capacity, the energy. Now, when Doomsday hit us in 2012, now we were made to understand some critical issues in our energy sector which needed to be dealt with. One had to do with the massive legacy debts that had been accrued over a long period of time that needed to be cleared. Two was issues with generation of energy. But see, for us to do good justice with this issue, we need to understand the energy supply chain, because there's a supply chain there. The starting point is you need to first of all generate the energy, the electricity. Now, electricity, after you generated the electricity also works the road or the route and the electricity we'll use will be the cables, the transmission. So as in to take it from the point of production to let's say center, in this case grid core, for it to be sent to ECG and then sold to us. So there's also some engineering things. I think if I was an engineer, but transmission lines you need, and then when it's gotten to ECG, then becomes a purely commercial matter. Because what ECG does is to sell the energy, and ECG sells to all of us, to individuals, sells to companies, corporations, and also sells to the state. We all need to understand that. Now, each of these processes comes with some cost. Now, when we had the energy crisis in 2013, what Joama did was to tackle the generational issues, the generation of electricity issues, and his strategy was to open the sector up to private sector participation. You understand? And that's why, and that's why they signed all these car power, Ameri, and all the and all that. You understand? Now, what we need to understand is that, and that's why some of us we always push for the private sector. Private sector people would push for their money because they are more efficient. Now, the private sector, anybody selling energy in Ghana here, also understood the supply chain. Now, they knew that there were problems with the transmission. They knew that because of the weakness in our transmission systems, the energy they sell to government, by the time it reaches the end user, it will only be the same. So they obviously insisted for a pay or take. That listen, I'm giving you 100 let's say megawatts. I'm insisting that you pay me for my 100 megawatts. Okay. So they did that because they needed to safeguard themselves. Now, when it came to the transmission side, that's a purely government-controlled side. Yeah. That's a purely government-controlled side. Now, over the years, government has failed to make any critical investments in that area. So because of that, when government buys, let's say, 100 megawatts of energy, or maybe they have 100 megawatts of energy from both Akosombo, which belongs to government, by the time it gets to the end users, it's about 70. Almost about 30% of all the energies they bought, as in 30% is lost because of weaknesses in the transmission side. And then Mumuze here made a very good point, an excellent point, that because from their own records, ECG always makes a loss, and that's the commercial side. When they've sold energy, they always make a loss of about $180 million. Out of that $180 million, $150 million of those losses is a result of government's inability to pay for the energy the government themselves buys. That is the ministries, the agencies, and then the departments. So clearly these are the problems. The problems we have bedeviled with, one, has to do with, for me, I don't want to add the IPPs because, like I'm saying, they are business people. And if they are selling to you 100 megawatts of energy, they must take 100 megawatts money. But government over the years has failed to invest to solve the transmission issues and also the commercial issues. Now, so when Joama was in power, when he opened it up, they then enacted the Energy Sector Levies Act. The whole idea was, let us, because you see, if there was one assurance for them, so what they're concerned, people buy fuel, everybody will all buy fuel. And so when we put add some levies to the fuel, we raise some monies there, and the whole idea is that we use the monies to take care of the legacy debts. Essentially, the problem in the energy sector has to do with financing, that the sector is not financially viable. So he does that levy. Now, when Nana Akufo-Addo came to power, what they decided to do, and I'm sure Mama himself, after he had dealt with the capacity issue, if he had, and this I'm thinking, and my Anabo is here, they themselves, they're going to, on the back of the ESLA, gone to the Eurobonds to go and raise funds, to attempt to use those funds to deal with the financial issues within the sector. they lost power. Nanado came, and Nanado, as an MP, Nanado's government then collateralized the ESLA funds and then raised money locally with the attempt to deal with those legacy issues. So they formed, as in, the ESLA bonds were issued. Now, beyond that, and for me that's the disappointment, that's the bit that disappoints me. They then formed what they called the Energy Sector Recovery Program. The focus of that program was to understand what the issues in the energy sector were. As in, why was the energy sector not financially viable? Well, it was like one of the major problems was that the cost of producing and giving us energy was way more than how much revenue they were able to mobilize. And so there was always some shortfall, always a massive shortfall, which meant that we were going to hit a wall at some point in time. Because you can't keep on running a business where you keep on running at a loss. So they rightly began the Energy Sector Recovery Program, because they understood that, you see, we can only solve these problems if we first of all identify why the sector was not financially viable and then find solutions to those issues. So they did their research, came out with a fantastic document, identified all these issues I'm talking about. So their first issue was the excess capacity, the fact that governments had spent, or we spent too much money in buying the energy beyond how much we needed. They identified also another excess payment with the supply of fuel. They identified these commercial and technical losses I'm talking about, and then they came out with fantastic solutions which they predicted that if they carried them through, by 2023 the energy sector would come to a financial viability, which meant that by 2023 the cost of generating and selling fuel, you understand, would be either equal or less than the cost of, so the amount of revenue that will be generated from the sale of that fuel. I hope you understand. And I'm saying that for me that is the disappointing bit, because if you recognize the fact that the reason why we are having there was doom so in the first place was because of the fact that the energy sector was not financially viable. The fact that you put together a team and they recognize that there was no financial viability because of a number of factors. One, I talked about the technical losses, which essentially meant that there needed to be serious investment in the transmission of fuel to reduce those losses. My brother here made a very good point about the cost of energy here. And one of the reasons of the cost of energy in this country is because they always try to make up for those losses. And so within the cost of energy here is build up, is a markup to take care of those losses. So if, let's say, the transmission was efficient and then it reduces the extent of the losses, then the cost of the fuel certainly would come down. They recognize the fact that ECG itself was having commercial issues, and so some people have the view that if you manage to get the same way Mama opened up the generation side to private sector participation, that's the reason why we have so much energy generation. Was it possible to also open up, let's say, the transmission side also to private sector participation, that through a PPP or through some form of arrangement? And was it also, and they tried to open up the distribution side to private sector participation when they formed the PDS, and then the calamity that you understand. Now, I'm saying that I'm disappointed because I haven't recognized the problems and haven't preferred solutions. Because one of the solutions they preferred was the fact that, having recognized that there was always an annual shortfall, government decided that felt that it was wise for them to use some stabilization sector funds to be making up for the annual sector shortfalls. You understand? And the whole idea was that by 2023 we should break even. Bless. So having done this research, having come out with this paper, having identified what the problems were, and having preferred solutions, why are we in doing so now? Why are we in this situation now? Why is everybody associated with energy in this country being made to lie like a child? To protect who and to protect what? Because you see, if they didn't know what the problems were, if they had no answers to those problems, then you see, when we sack them, we'll sack them not because they are dishonest, but we'll be sacking them because they clearly don't have solutions to the problem. Now, it becomes a worrying, and it's very serious worrying, when clearly they have the solutions but are not applying them. Therefore, we tell them that these are people who have no commitment to solving the problems of this country, and that's even more serious. Because if you know what to do to solve a problem, and you are not doing it, then means that what you lack is a serious commitment to solving the problems. For me, it brings that question to the fore. So then, why did you want that political position in the first place? Because you see, there must be a reason why, having grown up or having been alive in a time when every problem that we seem to be going through has been already gone through by somebody else, and then they found solutions to. Because there's nothing that is happening in this country that no country in this world hasn't already gone through. And that's why there are solutions to all our problems. We all, for a very long time, you hear discussions being had on TVs, on radio, about the fact that the way to transform our economy, to bring about the economic emancipation that our political emancipation has failed to deliver, is to be industrialized. We all say it. So why are we not being industrialized? We keep on comparing ourselves to Korea. And I think Korea and Singapore are very good countries to compare ourselves with. Because first of all, we had independence around the same time. Yeah. There was one argument that has been made as to why those of us in Africa are not industrialized. You see, when the world became industrialized, when there was the industrial revolution happened, it was just around the time when we were more or less being colonized. And because of that, we did not have the power to show serious commitment and get ourselves industrialized. That's an argument can be made. And then the people who colonized us saw us merely as producers of raw materials. But we are not the only country that have gone through the same. The most industrialized country in the world right now, the USA, face the same problem. Because in 1776, when they had their independence, it was industrial revolution happened around 1750. They had their independence. They declared themselves independent in 1776. But history tells us that at that time they were still at war. You understand? That's why they had their first president way before the 1776. So it was not like us when in 1957, when we became independent, we already had a prime minister, and just in 3 years we had a president. Their first president, George Washington, didn't become president in 1776. In 1776, he was still a rebel leader, so far as the United Kingdom was concerned. Now, when they declared themselves independent and then took charge of their affairs, they were still seen by the Europeans, the European powerhouses, as being suppliers of raw materials. America had to deliberately take steps to change the course of their nation from being producers of raw materials to being a highly industrialized nation. And those programs put in place by America are still there. One, so when you say you are going to be industrial, it's not just about building the factories or putting independence to build the factories. You need to, by policy, also do what we call infant protection policies, where you use the power of policy, taxation, or to protect your infant industries, to build that up to a stage where they can compete with the global ones. We know the blueprints are there. What we lack is commitment. What our leaders have shown over the years, that they lack serious commitment to build a country. And that's why I agree with my brother once again. So 2024 becomes very critical. 2024 becomes hugely critical. And that's why we need to understand the architecture of our governance system, you don't vote for parties. You don't vote for parties. When you're going to vote for president, you don't vote NDC or MPP or even the Movement for Change or CPP or whatever party will not have the executive power. The person or the entity that has the executive power is a human being. So you need to look and interrogate the person or the person of the people who are putting themselves up, or who political parties have decided to sponsor to hold that executive power. It means that their character becomes very critical. What they hold dear, their value set, their principle become very critical, because we need a leader who has real commitment to solve the problems that we have been dealt with. It's very critical. You understand? And that's why you need to even go beyond how they've handled themselves in public life, but even what they've done in their private lives. Because you can see what their commitments are, their value set,